All right, welcome to another episode of Enlightened Conversation. Super excited for today's guest. We have James Baulding out of Los Angeles, California, and really excited for you guys to meet him. I came across James's Instagram page and immediately I felt the energy on his page. I knew that he had a heart to help people, and James is a digital media consultant there in Los Angeles, and he's also big into yoga. He's a yogi and creating some really cool stuff right now on YouTube, and I'm definitely excited for you guys to hear his story and hear some of the things that he's become aware of at a really young age. Without further ado, I want to introduce you guys to James. James, if you could just do me a favor and tell the audience who you are, what you do, why you do it, and that sort of thing, so that you're not a complete stranger to everybody listening.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is James Baulding, and I am a digital media consultant. That's basically what my trade is. I recently started a digital media agency called Peridot Media. And, you know, just as the name suggests, Peridot is a stone. It's actually my birthstone. And that stone itself kind of has a lot of power in terms of bringing light and brightness into people's lives. So that was kind of the reason why I started my agency, was to help people who are entrepreneurs and small businesses really maximize their exposure on social media and, you know, find the right audiences that will relate with whatever their cause and their mission is. And in addition to that, I'm also a yogi, and, you know, I've been practicing for about 3 years now, and I really kind of want to show people what my journey has been in my yoga practice, and also share my practice with people. So in the future, I also would love to own a yoga studio and share that with people as well.
Nice. I've seen all those. I've seen lots of stuff on your Instagram page with you doing yoga, and I know a lot of people that is like a meditative practice, to where they're allowing themselves to really, you know, just be totally present in the moment, and some of the things that they have benefited from when it comes to that meditation or that yoga practice has been pretty cool. I've noticed on your Instagram page, and we'll put James's all his social media stuff here in the notes of the podcast. But I noticed a spiritual vibe that you have, the law of attraction vibe. I noticed that right away on your page. You know, tell me about that. How did that come into your life, and what has that meant to you? And, you know, how is that benefiting your life? And are you able to use some of the things that you've become aware of to benefit some of the people that you're working with in business and other areas of your life?
Yes. You know, honestly, it goes back to studying philosophy in college, and, you know, really kind of becoming obsessed with this idea of becoming, you know, and reading about people who, you know how to sort of wield their life and their, the way that they're perceived. So it kind of started with that, but honestly, growing up, I was not a very religious person. You know, religion was just kind of this thing that I felt like people needed to exist sometimes, but I never really got into it to where I felt like I was spiritually connected to it. And honestly, my spiritual journey really kind of escalated whenever I decided to move to LA, because I did the whole process alone, and I had a lot of time to think about my life and think about myself. And then when I got here, you know, I found a church, and I really connected to not only the church, but the people who were there. And, you know, I'm always looking for people who have that sort of way of inspiring you to live your most authentic and truest version of yourself. So once I realized that was something that I wanted to be a core part of who I am in the world, I started looking for people who share that message. And of course, I found Oprah, because, you know, Oprah is so big into having sort of this message spread, you know, on her television show and on her podcast. And I read a book last year called The Seat of the Soul. And, you know, that is really what showed me kind of the power of, you know, manifesting. And not only that, but living your truest and authentic self, because I think for so long I've been, kind of obsessed with this idea of like, oh, well, what is it that this person has that, got them to this place, and, kind of studying what ideologies people kind of follow so that they can live out to be the truest expression of themselves. And within that book, he talks a lot about intention and coming into who you are as an authentic being. And that's what kind of resonated with me in wanting to share that with people along my journey, because I've gone from a place where I wasn't spiritual to now I completely understand and I feel it. It's even in the people that are starting to come into my life and the people that I'm starting to connect. And it just makes me feel more alive and more present.
I love that. And I have a couple of things that I want to share now that you inspired me through that. First, I'm
Sure.
happy that you mentioned Oprah's name, because any excuse that I have to tag Oprah in Instagram stories, I'll take advantage.
Of course.
I'll definitely mention her any chance I get. But no, I love what you said as far as not really being, very religious, and then all of a sudden, a book comes into your life, or a church, and something that really just spoke to you as a person. What I've noticed talking to people from all different walks of life, different, religions, some not religious at all, some not, wouldn't even consider themselves to be spiritual. But what I feel that all of us can relate to is how we feel when we're in that energy that we would all call love. And it might mean
Yes.
something different to all of us. But that feeling is, we know when we're being loving, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, regardless of the different, religions that might be out there and the different rules that they might have and all of those things, what always connected with me was when I could hear someone, speaking about something that connected back to love, versus,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't do this, then this will happen. All the
Yeah.
fear and the punishment and
Mm-hmm.
the worrying, like that never resonated with me. I didn't connect to that. And so I can relate to you, because as I've kind of gone on my journey, and all of a sudden, I had, different books come into my life, and got to go to, other, whether it be churches, or you have, you're in California, I've, being able to go experience, agape there in Los Angeles, and just
Mm-hmm.
seeing different people, embracing their spirituality in different ways. But, when it was involving and speaking about and being about love, then I could always relate to that. So I like what,
Yeah.
I like what you just mentioned.
Something interesting that you said was this sort of hyper awareness to the people that are around you, and being able to understand when you're receiving and giving love. I think that something that has been very evident in my journey is that I sort of repel the energy that's not that. And it's almost something that I feel is instinctual. But an example is like the last um, company that I worked for. It kind of started as one type of energy, but quickly it kind of changed to something else with the introduction of adding new people to our team and all of that. And so I think that it's interesting to be aware of when the energy changes and the energy shifts around you. And, I think that I've kind of grown out of that place to understand what that love is and how to give it as well.
I love that you just said that just now. So I learned something really interesting, that because in anything in life, once we become aware of it, it's, initially it kind of starts off as maybe words on a page or an idea. And then once we start experiencing life and see evidence of it, then it really
Mm-hmm.
becomes truth to us. And so
Yeah,
something that you
really.
just said when it comes to the energy around us, and being in work environments, probably similar to what you just described in the past. One thing that I've came to become aware of is that when it comes to our energy, the people around us will either join us in that energy, or they'll be moved out of our experience. Like they won't
Mm-hmm.
want to be around us, so they'll either leave the company or go to a different department, and all the thing that we can control is what energy that we bring to the situation.
Yes.
So once I, became aware of that, it gave me so much peace because I could start focusing on only thing that I can control is making sure that I come, into every situation with the energy that I can bring. And then, you have those days where someone will thank you because they needed that pick me up. Like, I'm so happy that you were here today. Like, I was feeling
Yeah.
crappy. And then you have other days where somebody might say, what are you so happy about? Like, and like they're not ready to join you in that energy. So I've learned it's typically one or the other. So we just bring the energy that we can bring. It tends to work out the way that we want it to, as far as who's around us. That's cool to be
Yeah.
aware of that.
Yeah. And, honestly, I mean, I think I've always been aware of it, but I just couldn't put it into context when I was growing up, and I think that that's the cool thing about, exploring all of these different books, especially The Seed of the Soul, which I think is like the good foundation for building, kind of your spiritual outlook, on the way that you connect with people, as a base. But from that, I just feel now I am more hyper aware and sensitive to it because I know the state that I like being in, and when someone's able to dynamically change that, or even has the power to change that, I think it's important to question yourself in those situations. Why am I feeling this way? And once I kind of had that experience happen a lot of times, and then I actually started to reflect on those situations, I started to realize the pattern and like the type of relationship where I was experiencing those feelings. And at some point, you have to say, okay, I want to be in control of my happiness. And you are then able to see where those types of relationships can cause you to become something other than the person that you are naturally inclined to be. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. And question piggybacking on that. So I noticed when I went to one of the things that attracted me to your Instagram page was you could tell when someone is a giver. Like, you have a nature about you where you want to share some of the things that you become aware of that could help someone that lands on your page, or people that are friends of yours that, whether it be through yoga or through your business or whatever it might be. But that's the vibe that I got from your page. How have you found it as you've been, becoming more and more aware of this stuff, and you've been evolving and, discovering these truths for you? How have you found it with the people that are in your life, that, because with that giving mentality, you obviously want to share some of these things that you're becoming aware of, whether it be a book, like The Seed of the Soul or whatever it might be. One thing that I found is, if until someone, in our life, or just anyone, is ready to receive or ready to hear, there's not much that we can really give besides just, being a great example and going and living our life, happily. And hopefully they see the happiness inside of you and want to know what it is that you know. But how have you found that as you've been evolving? Have you found it challenging in some cases, or pretty easy to share some of the things? I know you have that, that giving mentality. I've already picked up that vibe from you.
Yeah, I definitely think both. It's challenging in situations, like you said, where people are not really open to receiving, especially when you're coming out of a place of just wanting to see them be the best version of themselves. But one thing that I live my life by is I don't like condemn or judge or complain or, try to make people feel something negative based on the something insightful that I'm giving the person, if that makes sense. So I think that oftentimes, the way in which we try to share ourselves can be taken in different ways. But I feel like for the people who are kind of aware of the fact that, you want to be in control of your happiness, they understand and they resonate. But to people who want to live in that place where they actually get some sort of energy or fulfillment out of, whatever negative energy that's around them, they are the ones that are a little bit more difficult to connect with, because when you're around them, they just want to kind of keep bringing up things that aren't necessarily feeding them in a positive way. And again, it goes back to the awareness of that. But on the flip side of that is you have relationships that are strengthened by, you know, your enlightenment. And because now someone is getting something positive from you, they want to be around you more and they want to share more things with you, and the relationship can grow, and that person is also inspired by things that you're doing, so they're also trying to improve their lives too. And I do feel that even the people that are around me in my immediate circle, because I do live with roommates, it's just crazy how, you know, living with someone for 6 months and then, you know, seeing how the difference in people's lifestyles, you know, kind of change as you all kind of get the idea of living a better life together. And then it kind of becomes this relationship where everyone's kind of building to the next level and growing from there. So
Absolutely.
definitely, and even on Instagram, I mean, I'm just kind of like blown away with people and their ability to be vulnerable. I had a guy reach out to me last week who was just like, "Hey, I'm really, you know, struggling with something, and I just need someone to talk to." And at first, I was a little bit put off by it because no one's ever really done that before. But at the end of the day, I had to weigh this like thing in my head, like, okay, I could not respond and make all these assumptions about why this person reached out to me, or I could just give this person whatever I feel is could potentially help them in this situation, and it's a win-win. And so I chose that, and I responded, and I just, you know, kind of gave my perspective. And, you know, at the end of the day, whatever happens, I hope that someone gained something from that. So I think that even in having the message of being a giver embedded in the content that I'm creating is bringing people to me in a way that I really appreciate, because then it means to some extent that they value what I have to say. So, you
I
know,
love that. I love that. You just inspired me to say a couple of things. So let me try to line these things up, because I definitely want to get these things out.
okay,
So when first and foremost, we all realize that when we are giving and when we are helping another human being, first, how amazing that feels for us. Like whenever we're empowering another human being, which is why I love having conversations like this with you, because we don't know who's going to end up listening to this, where they're going to be in the world. And, hopefully there's one thing that they hear from you or one thing that they hear from me that can impact their life and, allow them to go out there and live a happier today and maybe lead to a happier, whatever it is that they want to go out and create. So that's the first thing. And I have an agreement and along those lines with the universe. And whenever I say the universe, I use it interchangeably with universe, God, love,
yeah, me
power,
too.
energy, whatever everybody might call that, that power something differently. But I have an
Yeah,
agreement that basically says, bring the people in my path that I can help, that I can benefit in whatever way, whether it's just a quick, conversation, maybe even just a smile walking past them on the street, but I'm prepared to help. And then the fun that I love to have, the finances, all the things that we can never predict, all the synchronicities that happen in our life, that, anything that we think about that's really happened, that's been pretty cool in our life, we can't really predict all the steps that have led up to that manifestation anyway. So just I've taken my mind completely off of that. And I love a guest that I had in the first podcast, episode 1, mentioned putting on one side of the page the things that she can control, the things that she can do. So like,
mm,
if I have to go get an oil change, I'm going to go do an oil change. And then the things that she can't control, that are desires that she has, putting that on the universe's side of the page, and then blessing it, releasing it, and not worrying about how, what, when, where, and who, and all those details that really can only allow us to be anxious. We can't, when we're trying to
yeah,
figure out all those things in life. And so, yeah, that's my agreement. You take care of the people that you come into my path, and I'm ready to give what I can give. And then all those desires that we have and things that I want to create, that's on your side of the page. So, um,
yeah. And isn't it amazing though how much more at peace you feel, and just
absolutely.
how it feels like you're living more? Because I've been on both sides. I've been on the side where I was like so anxious and so obsessed with where I'm going and how I'm going, how I'm getting there, that I wasn't able just to enjoy the moment and,
Yes.
you know, really connect with people on a deeper level. So I definitely believe that in coming to that realization and that understanding, it helps you connect with the people that you're supposed to connect with, because then your brain is more receptive to those types of relationships and interactions.
Absolutely. That was probably one of the biggest discoveries for me in life was, I think a lot of us, and we've all been here, we're all human, we've all been anxious about things, we've all been worried about things, and that's okay. It's fine to be human, but the cool thing is when you can become aware, okay, I'm worrying about
Yeah.
things that are out of my control. How would I like to feel? How would I like to live? And to be able
Hmm.
to switch back into just what you just said. The easiest way to get back to feeling good is to, how much can I enjoy this moment right now, which is the only one that's really guaranteed to me anyway. I think
Yeah.
a lot of us live like we have all this time that's guaranteed to us, and if we knew that we had, a limited amount of days, which we all know that we do, but we really don't think about it because nobody wants to really think about not being here. But
Yeah.
if we really lived like this moment was the only one guaranteed, it's not that this moment will be the best moment that we've ever had in life. It might be, but it doesn't have to be that. But from this moment, we can allow it to be as enjoyable as we can possibly make it. I always tell people like,
Mm.
we only have we have a limited amount of decisions that we can make in this moment. There's a lot of things that we can do, but I can't snap my fingers and being like Beijing, China right now. Like that's not one of my
Right.
options as far as what I can do right now. So out of what I can do now, how can I enjoy this moment as much as possible? And, I'll ask myself that question as much as I need to refocus back on what's the only thing that, I am guaranteed, which is right now. So I love what
Yeah. I love that. That's so good.
Yeah. Um, and then the last thing that I said that I don't think I've mentioned at all, and that's the name of the podcast, Enlightened Conversations. But you just inspired me to clarify this. The one thing that it will always be true is when it comes to being, like our state of being. Someone could be considered, like we could look at someone from afar and say, well, that person is enlightened, like that person knows some things, but they're human too, and there's moments where they might be worried or angry or upset, or now they may be aware of it and catch themselves after one thought. They might not let themselves go all the way down to where they're spending a whole day angry or spending a whole day upset, but it's moment
Hmm.
by moment. Like enlightenment is only in the moment, and when I say enlightened, I mean just being spiritually aware. And
Yeah.
if in the moment you're feeling loving, if you're feeling joy, if you're feeling happy, if you're feeling blissful, or all the words that we have as human beings to describe feeling good, then in that moment you are enlightened, because the only thoughts that our brain will give us are, if we're happy, where our state of being is happy, our brain will only feed us happy thoughts, and our mouth will only
Hmm.
speak happy words, and our actions will only be happy actions. And the same is also true if we're depressed or if we're angry. Like I can't receive a joyful thought if I'm angry. This won't happen.
Yeah.
So and so that's what everybody has, moments where they are in those moments enlightened, and we all have moments as humans where we're not. And it's for me, it's never about being. I always want to make sure I'm clear on that. It's never about being perfect, because none of us are that. We're human. It's just being aware, and I just choose for me to live as many moments of my life as I can, feeling good, being happy, and enjoying the moment as much as possible. So I have you to thank for saying that, because I'm getting episodes deep, and I don't think I've clarified that. And I've thought about it afterwards, but you just made me remember to say it.
Yeah. And even I've been one of those people who really suffered with the idea of perfectionism. Like it's been something that's bothered me a lot, like growing up, and I realized that I was missing opportunities because I was so obsessed with the outcome of a situation as opposed to the process of getting to that outcome. And now I'm at this place where I really just try to enjoy every step of the journey in whatever it is. If it's a relationship, you have to realize that a relationship comes with baggage, it comes with problems, and there's things that are going to happen. But I think it's about the mindset and the mentality that you are always thinking positive, even when there are things that are going to come at you that aren't positive. If you go into it with this idea like, hey, I already know that what I'm getting into has challenges, but you see them as challenges and not as things that prevent you from moving to the next step. And I think that that's kind of the problem people have sometimes, is that they get so stuck on that one thing, that then it becomes sort of crippling to them. They stay in that situation, they don't see the positive outside of that situation, and it kind of becomes a cyclical thing. um, And, the whole point of being enlightened is that you can move to the next step. You can keep growing, and everything is building on top of each other. And, you just kind of grow out of that place.
I love that. Yeah. And in fact, what you just said, the challenges, I've actually replaced the word problems out of my vocabulary, and I only use challenge when it comes to that, because a challenge is something that it can be, then I can look at it as, well, this is just something that I can overcome or learn from or whatever it might be. And if we think about it, all of the experiences that we've had in our life, whether it be the most rough, part of our life or whatever that might be for any of us, we wouldn't be as clear today as we are, as far as the desires that we have and who we are as a person, without all of those challenging experiences. No matter how rough they are in the moment, we're all going to experience those. But again, we wouldn't know how much we enjoy a warm sunny day if it wasn't a few really rough, windy, rainy, hail hitting us in the side of the head days. So it's all a part of life. So no, that's really good. I'm happy that you just said that as well. Question for you that I always want to know, because, and you've already actually probably said a lot of this, but from everything that you've become aware of, up to this point in your life, which you're a young guy. You got to be what, in your 20s something?
Yeah.
There's how, say again?
I'm 28.
Okay, nice. I thought you said 20. I'm like, my gosh, if I knew all that at 20.
No,
Okay.
no.
Very cool.
If I knew that at 20, man.
This is, but you have to be the same way. I'm so grateful for the things that I've become aware of at, when I was 28. I'm 36. So the things that I've become aware of, some may not become aware of ever, and just, or till much later in life. So to be able to be aware of this now, and then to apply it in life and see, things unfold to where it really becomes truth, like that is one of the things I'm most appreciative for. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if I asked you the question, so I'll ask it again if I did. Don't worry. Out of all the things you've become aware of at this point in your life, what is it that you would love to share with humanity that, someone, that, lands upon this podcast, whenever they land upon it, could hear that information, and, then they're ready to hear it, and you speak to them and they can go out there and make one little shift in their life. What's something that you would say?
Yeah, I think I would say that you have to understand that joy is within you, and that you cannot be controlled in life by external factors. Like,
Really
you
good.
have to get control of that at an early time, because that's what's going to make all of the experiences that you have after you come to that conclusion much more enjoyable, because now you understand that no matter what happens in your life, there are horrible things that people have had to deal with, and somehow they come out to be, the most positive, uplifting people. So you have to understand why that is and what type of power people like that have. And it's because they're able to look at their situation and be grateful, for every moment, just like you said. But to also realize that at the end of the day, when they feel happy, it's because of course, it's also because of, the interactions that you have, but the power to produce that is within you. And that's why, something that Oprah says, she's always in this state of overflow, where her cup is always overflowing. And I love that, because, you want to get to a point in life where your positivity and your energy is so full that you can give it to other people and they can be affected by the things that you do. So I think that for anyone who is kind of on this journey, where they're actually on a journey that they want to be enlightened by, because that's also another thing too, is you have to be in a place where you're going to be receptive to the changes that have to be made in order to have this sort of thing impact your life. But for those people, it's important to know that, you are in control, and that, everything else around you, you can shift, you can change, you can touch.
I love that. That's That sums it up right there. Once we can get a hold of the fact that joy is within, and I love you said this right at the beginning, because if we do allow external circumstances to control, then I mean, my goodness, just turn on any news channel and it'll be
Oh
a
my
roller
God.
coaster day.
It's like
Yeah.
we're blasted with just, you're just like, gosh, like, is the world really this bad? You know,
Yeah.
but you have to think, like, even, I mean, the news is such a good example, but not saying that everything on the news is an isolated incident, but you have to understand the world is a very big place, you know,
Yes.
and there are a lot of wonderful things happening in this world, just as much as there are bad things happening. And, but it's all about the shift in focus. You know, the shift in focus on news is sensationalism and, you know, being kind of obsessed with this idea that bad things are happening. And so, you know, again, going back to the joy within yourself, like you have to realize that you have to ask yourself, what's happening in my life that's good? And then you're like, wait a minute, there's a lot of good things around me. You know, I just saw this happen yesterday. I helped this person do this. It's the small things that we have to be grateful for, the small instances in our lives where there's peace and there's calm and there's understanding. And if you realize how many more instances of our lives are those little, you know, nuggets where you are peaceful and you are in a place of understanding, it outweighs everything that negative that's thrown at you, you know. But I think sometimes we get so comfortable in maybe, you know, trying to be influenced by those external factors, and they start to control the way that we perceive um, our situation.
Absolutely. No, and I love how you said that once we can, get a hold of that joy comes from within, then we can allow, because we do live in a beautiful world and there are beautiful things going on and beautiful things to appreciate. And if we already have cultivated that joy from within, and then we can go out and experience, some of these things in this beautiful world, whether it be spending time with friends and family or travel or whatever it is that, we like to do, then we can allow our energy to be even more intensified versus
Absolutely.
needing those external things in order to feel good. When I mean, there's just so many things that can happen in a daily basis where if we're allowing the external to control us, I mean, we're just in for a roller coaster ride, and we've all been there.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
I always say that when we're focused on anything, what determines how we feel is what we're focusing on in the moment. So it could be
Hmm.
something that we're thinking about or something that we're doing. It could be thinking about past, future, present, and whatever that focus is what's going to determine how we feel by how we choose to look at it. So we only have two choices if we want to feel good, depending on whatever we're focused on. It's either we find something about that subject to appreciate or feel grateful about,
Hmm.
or if we can't
Yeah.
find anything, like to where it's just like, because we all have those subjects that are really challenging, for us, because over the years, whether it be a health challenge or a financial challenge or a relationship
Hmm.
challenge. And when you think about it, immediately your energy starts to dip down a little bit
Yeah.
because it's just a habit. We've had so many thoughts. We think 70,000 thoughts per day. And if a lot of
Yeah.
those are anxious about certain subjects, you're not likely going to just shift that in 1 second or one day. So if that's not possible in that moment to find something to appreciate, I always tell people find anything else on the planet to focus on. That's easier. I don't care what it is. Pull up a funny YouTube video, look at a picture of your family, anything else than that subject that's challenging you, because there's no victories for us in focusing on the most difficult subject in the world. Maybe it's the news, and trying to find something out of that bombing to appreciate. I don't challenge myself like that. That's just
I I don't either. And I think that something interesting that you said is the whole like bring up a YouTube video thing. You know, like if that brings you joy,
yeah,
why not do it? Finding little pieces of joy in something like a YouTube video, I mean, if that makes you happy in the moment, go to it, you know, and love that.
absolutely. Because then whatever you're doing next we're not saying watch, funny YouTube videos all day. Maybe there might be a day where that's necessary though, to where it's just been a rough patch of time and you just want to laugh all day, then so be it. Do what you need to do. You're monitoring your own energy. But what I always notice about myself, I much more enjoy creating whatever it is that I'm doing, whether it be doing some work or going to spend time with friends or whatever it is that I'm doing. If I could first tend to my own energy, and if I need to watch a
Yeah,
funny YouTube video, bump my energy up, and then, call a relative or go to a work meeting or whatever it is, my initial focus is on bumping, my energy up. Because if I just neglect that and don't watch the funny YouTube video, even though it's so easy to do, and that's just an example, it could be anything that brings us joy, of course.
right.
But if I neglect that and then still choose to go to that work meeting in maybe a frustrated, worried, anxious, or depressed, energy, which I've done this before, it's not as productive. It's not fun for them. Nobody wants to really talk to you. You don't want to even be talking. It's just not, when
Yeah,
you could have just monitored, and bumped your energy up a little bit. It's worth it. I mean, to
yeah,
me, there's nothing more important than getting my energy right. And then episode 1, if you guys haven't seen it, is all about the green zone chart, which is all about the emotions of a human being. And definitely go back and see that, because besides getting my energy where I want it and then going out into the world, nothing else matters to me.
yeah. And that's even having awareness that that particular thing is serving you, you
Yes,
know?
absolutely.
So, it's that you have that awareness, of course. You mentioned, there's extremes for people who would watch a YouTube video all day, but the fact that, like, hey, in this moment, this will give me that energy that I need so that I can go and be more of myself whenever I, leave this situation. That awareness is what people should aim for.
I like what you just said, to be more of myself. And that's the truest statement, because who we really are and who we truly are is love and is joy
Mm,
and is happiness. When we're being that, that is who and what we truly are. So I love how you just said that, to allow me to be more of myself. That is the most accurate statement that any of us can make. That's really good. Really good. Anything that you'd like to add on to anything? I'm going to give you the last word. Anything that that you're excited about, that you want to promote, that you're doing there. And you're based out of Los Angeles primarily, yes?
yes. Yes. So yeah, there's a lot of really exciting stuff that I'm working on. One is I'm developing my YouTube channel where I will have yoga videos for people that kind of combine an area of fitness as well. So my whole thing, and what I practice here in my room every day, is I do yoga, fit, meditate, right? So I do yoga when I wake up because, that's the best time, in my opinion, to do yoga, because your spine is the most stressed out because you've been laying for a while you're asleep. So I do that in the morning, and I feel like that really kind of focuses my mind. And then I work out kind of midday, and then I end the evening, or like before I go to bed, with a meditation. And so I want to share that practice with people on my YouTube channel. So that's something that I'm developing and will be available to people soon. And then in addition to that, I also am in the process of developing a podcast as well, that will be more focused on kind of just living life through the eyes of a yogi, and to get other experts that are in the industry to kind of help guide me on this journey, because I'm still learning a ton and there's so much that I need to learn. And I feel like with me doing the research and meeting these people, that there's some value that we can share with other people as I'm on this process as well. So those are just two things that I have, you know, in the works that
Love that.
I would share with people.
Love that. And definitely, you guys want to follow James's journey, because I know 100% that once us as human beings becomes aware of the things that James has mentioned in this podcast, that he's become aware of with his energy and just going out there and living his true self, being his true self, life is going to continue to evolve and unfold. You'll go back and see this podcast, a year from now, and the things that James would have gone out there and created will be there's things that he can't even predict. None of us could predict. And that goes for all of us, the things that are unfolding. Once we become aware of our energy and learn how to just flow it in the direction of things that we desire and not put so much time and energy and as little as possible on how and what and when and all the details that really have nothing to do with anything. Again, how many things in our life right now that are we would consider to be good have manifested, and you could predict every single step that led up to that manifestation. I challenge anyone to find one thing that they could do that with. So with that, knowing that, then just allowing the journey to unfold, focusing on the moment. And James, you're on a really, really cool spot in your life. I'm happy that I got you on this podcast at this stage. You'll be hard to get. It'll be really, really hard to get soon enough when you're spreading everything that you know all over the world to anybody that's ready to hear it. So I'm excited for you.
Well, I don't know about that. I'll always try to make time, especially for stuff like this. This is awesome. Like I'm so grateful that you even reached out to me and had me on here.
It was the energy, man. You like attracts like, and the energy that I felt just from just a few moments on your page. So we'll definitely have all of James's information in the details so that you can follow his journey. And I'm excited that you took the time to come and share the things that you become aware of, and you'll definitely bless someone listening to this. I know that for a fact.
Thank you so much.
Love it. Thank you for tuning in. If you'd like to have an enlightened conversation with me, get in contact with me on social media. I'm so excited to see everybody out there around the world winning in their lives, thriving, feeling good, and really just enjoying the moment, because that's really all that any of us have, and that's all we're guaranteed. So live it up, enjoy your life, and we'll talk to you really, really soon on another episode of Enlightened Conversations. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you so much.